In POV the next time I saw Jihan Jungkook was today's later counting from the day I was dragged into this mess. It had officially been 5 days, which meant that if my mom hadn't found me yet, she had probably already held my funeral and started telling people how I died too young and too stupid. And now here I was standing beside him, well, more like he was sitting comfortably in a leather chair, and I was hovering awkwardly next to it. The man tied to the chair in front of us in basement was squirming so violently the wooden leg scraped against the concrete floor. Blood dripped from places I didn't even know could bleed. I had read 1,000 stories online about how Jungkook tortured people, but I had never seen it before. And now that I had, I don't like it. Not a word. He had warned me before a week came down here. Keep that sharp tongue inside your mouth. If I hear even one sound from you, I'll put a bullet through your pretty little skull. Double quotes. So I kept quiet for the first 10 minutes, at least. 3 people came through that basement one after another. And one after another, they screamed and pleaded and bled while Jungkook asked questions I didn't even understand. I didn't know why I was here. I didn't know what he wanted me to see. But I stood there anyway because I didn't have a choice. 3 people came through that basement one after another. And one after another, they screamed and pleaded and bled while Jungkook asked questions I didn't even understand. I didn't know why I was here. I didn't know what he wanted me to see. But I stood there anyway because I didn't have a choice. The show, as my brain bitterly called it, went on for 20 more minutes. My legs ached from standing so long, and my stomach had started to twist painfully with every new scream. Until the last one. They pinned his hand down, and they tore his fingernails out one by one. The sound he made was not human. I felt my knees buckle while rising fast. I didn't even realize I moved. I barely made it around the corner before I doubled over and puked. My whole body shook as I wiped my mouth with the back of my hand. One of the guards gave me a disgusted glare. The other one, bless his soul, handed me a tissue silently. Double quotes. Thanks. Double quotes. Can't stand the sight of blood. His voice made me jump. Jungkook was standing there now, a few feet away, hands shoved deep in his pockets, watching me. Double quotes. I said, dabbing my mouth with a tissue. I just prefer it inside. The body, where it belongs. He stared at me for a long moment. And then, like I hadn't spoken at all. He turned his attention back to Namjoon, who was flipping through a stack of files nearby. They're not talking, Namjoon said quietly. None of them. Well, Jungkook replied, good for them. We're patient men, and until every bone in their bodies breaks, we'll keep going. Double quotes. They started talking about new ways to continue. My heart pounded. My palms felt clammy. I knew I should have just shut up and stared at the wall, but my stupid, nerdy brain, the one that never, ever stayed quiet, decided now was a great time to speak. You're wasting time, I blurted before I could stop myself. Every head in the room turned to me. Jungkook brows rose slightly. Excuse me, the man in the black shirt, I said suddenly, the one whose hand you burned, he is lying. Namjoon frowned. What makes you so sure? His pupils dilated when you mentioned the shipment. Twice, but not when you mention the guns, only the shipment. Which means he knows something about it. Also, he flinched before the fire even touched him. Anticipation reaction. He might been caught before. He knows how this works. They all stare at me, even Jungkook. And the second guy, he wasn't lying. He was scared, but his micro expressions stayed consistent. If that make sense, he probably knows nothing. And the third one. The one you punched in the ribs 3 times. He kept looking to his left. That's usually where people glance when they're accessing memory. The silence stretched for a little long before Namjoon chuckled under his breath. Well, I'll be damned. Double quotes. Jungkook was still looking at me, but differently now. I like learning about these things, I muttered, suddenly shy under his stare. Apparently, he murmured. The corner of his mouth twitched before he turned back to the table, and the bleeding men still restrained their. Bring the one in black back. We'll start with him. And as they dragged the man back screaming, I realized something. They were starting to listen to me, and that might have been the most terrifying part of all. Su'u, I dragged the word out until it sounded more like a dying siren than a real sentence. Everyone's eyes flicked toward me for half a second before returning to their food. There was so much of it: steaming platters, roasted meat, bowls of things I couldn't even pronounce. But I didn't look at the food. No, eyes up. Because the real question wasn't what was on the table. It was why I was here at it. Why am I here? Jungkook didn't even glance at me. He was seated at the head of the table, sleeves rolled up, fingers wrapped lazily around a glass of wine, the picture of calm power. Sit down. What? Sit? It wasn't a request. I just stared, unsure if I'd heard him right. Sit made at the same table where all his scary mafia friends were eating like kings. What was this bring? You're hostage to dinner day. But who was I to argue with a man who owned more guns than spoons? So I moved. The empty seat was right next to Namjoon, across from a man who hadn't blinked once since I walked in. My heart thudded in my chest as I slid onto the chair and folded my hands in my lap. When no one was looking at me, I reached for a plate and started piling on food. It smelled divine. But as I stared down at the plate, a horrible thought slithered into my head. Is this my last day alive? Like, are you guys fattening me up before the big finale? Should I say a prayer or something? No answer. I poked the food with my fork suspiciously. You didn't, put poison in this, right? Or maybe it's one of those slow poisons that takes 12 hours to kill you so no one suspects anything. Eat, he said simply. I sighed and shoved a spoonful into my mouth. So, does this mean you finally believe I'm not some super dangerous spy? That earned me another glance. We're still thinking about it. Still. 5 days, and you still don't know. I heard Mafia guys can dig up a person's entire life in, 30 seconds. School records, dental records, what brand of toothpaste you use, everything. So how come you haven't done that with me? This time, Jungkook's lips quirked like he just remembered something mildly entertaining. Who says we haven't? I froze mid-bite. What? He leaned back in his chair, one arm resting lazily on the armrest, his gaze finding mine again. Maybe we already know everything about you, and maybe we're just waiting to see if you'll lie about it. Okay, I muttered, trying to laugh, but it came out nervous and shaky. No pressure or anything. Your mother filed a missing person report, he said after a moment of silence. I froze. She did. He hummed, swirling the wine in his glass. 2 days ago. Oh my god. I pressed my palms to my face. Okay, listen. You have to let me go now. She's not the nicest when it comes to these kinds of things, at all. And by now, she's definitely figured out I stole her dress, and that I gestured at myself wildly. That's basically a death sentence. Jungkook brow furrowed slightly as he watched me ramble. Your mother, is she abusive? What? No, eyes snapping up to meet his. She's just strict. Scary strict. But she's not, not that. He hummed again, leaning back with a calm expression. So, I started cautiously, fingers fidgeting with the edge of my napkin. Can I go then? No. I stared. No, he didn't even bother looking at me as he spoke. We haven't decided what to do with you yet. I slumped back in my chair. Right, of course. Because that would make my life too easy. But he continued, and that one word made me snap my head up. You won't be locked in a room anymore. Way trilly. My heart actually did a hopeful little jump. His gaze lifted, however, if you tried to escape. His eyes locked on mine, then intense enough to pin me to the chair. The weight of that look alone made my breath catch in my throat. My legs shifted under the table instinctively, knees pulling together like they were trying to hide me. I didn't know if it was fear that made my pulse skip. Because damn, why did he have to look so hot when he was threatening me? I won't, I mumbled quickly. Try to escape. Totally not planning that. Jungkook didn't reply, he just kept staring like he always do until I'm squirming. He could read every thought running through my head, and then he shifted his gaze away again, going back to his food as if the conversation had never happened. Jungkook POV Cologne. Jungkook expected her to make a run for it. That's what anyone else would have done sprinted for the gates the second the locks disappeared. And part of him maybe wanted her too. It would have made everything simpler. If she tried to escape, he'd have his answer. He could deal with her the way he dealt with everyone who crossed his path but she didn't run instead. She wandered He watched her through the security feeds the entire morning walking. From hallway to hallway, opening doors, poking her head into empty rooms, stopping to inspect paintings and furniture. She even spent 15 minutes talking to a marble statue in the West Quarter, asking it if it ever got bored standing still. Every shred of doubt he had about her being a spy evaporated. Then she was a storm of curiosity, touching and gawking at everything like the world itself was a mystery she couldn't wait to solve. And instead of annoying him as it should have it intrigue him, by the time her head peeked around the door of his private quarters, he was already expecting her. He simply watched from the far corner of the room, hiding in darkness. The door creaked a little as she pushed it open further, stepping inside on hesitant feet. She craned her neck around like she was afraid someone would shout at her for trespassing. A smirk ghosted across Jungkook's lips. She patted in deeper, still oblivious to the fact that he was there. Her fingers danced over the surface of his desk, over books and pens, over documents. Then she spotted the row of glass bottles lined neatly on a shelf, his colognes. Oh, she breathed, picking one up carefully and uncapping it. She took a sniff and hummed in delight. God, that smells expensive. Like I own 5 companies. His chest rumbled with a low, silent laugh. She had no manners, no sense of self-preservation, and yet she was simply fascinating. He moved quietly from his spot, a predator closing in on prey that didn't even know it was being hunted. She was too busy exploring, to caught up in her own little world to notice anything. The glass display by the dresser. Inside was his watches, each one hand crafted, worth millions, each one a piece of history in itself. She opened the case without hesitation, completely forgetting that she was in a room that could get her killed for less. Holy crap. She murmured, sliding one onto her wrist. This probably cost more than my apartment building. And that's when Jungkook was right behind her. She lifted her arm, admiring the watch in the light. Then she put it around her wrist and clasped it. He leaned forward just slightly, letting his breath go over the back of her neck. Having fun. She jumped, spinning around so fast the watch nearly flew off her wrist, and act just like that. She was chest to chest, breath mingling. Nowhere to run. He watched the panic flicker across her face, watched her mouth harden, shock, watched the way her eyes darted over his features like she was suddenly very aware of how close he was. The corner of his mouth twitched upward. Go on. Try another one. Go on, he said calmly. She shuffled back a little, biting her lip, and cleared her throat and turned around again, pretending like she wasn't seconds away from combusting. Not even when she lifted another watch from the velvet-lined drawer and slipped it carefully onto her wrist. He loved how she kept stealing tiny glances over her shoulder, how her lips twitched nervously when their eyes almost met. He loved that she looked, both afraid and curious at the same time. This one, she whispered after a moment, lifting her wrist into the light. This one's from the 1950s. Right, Patek Philippe. Rare, only a few models ever released. You see the engraving on the back. Jungkook's brows lifted slightly. She was right, most people didn't even notice that detail, let alone know the model. He hummed, her eyes lit up, and she went on, rambling about craftsmanship and movement, about the mechanism and how most people underestimate it. Vintage pieces. And he listened and watched. Watched the way her lips moved when she talked. Watched the small crease that appeared between her brows when she was thinking. She had 3 small moles on the left side of her face, one near her jawline, one just under her eyebrow, and another in the center of her cheek. He memorized them, committed them to memory. And I read somewhere they auctioned one of these for almost $5 million last year. Can you believe that? It's as she stopped mid-sentence. Jungkook's gaze flickered to her eyes as she blinked once, twice. Can you, step away a little? She asked suddenly, in a small voice. His brows arched. White, her cheeks warmed instantly. Because I kind of forgot what I was saying. Double quotes. The corner of Jungkook's mouth tugged upward before he could stop it. Am I making you forget things? And he asked, tilting his head. Her throat bobbed as she swallowed, eyes darting anywhere, but his lips parting slightly again. like she was about to say something, but the words refused to come ... and fuck ... He should not have noticed the way her tongue peeked out just barely when she did that. He should not have noticed the way her shaky breath when their eyes locked again.
He definitely shouldn't have found himself leaning just a fraction closer ... drawn in by something he didn't want to name. But he did all of it, and for the first time Jungkook. The man everyone feared, the man who never let anyone this close was caught staring.
She mumbled nervously when he leaned in just a fraction closer. Are you going to kiss me? ... The words were a bold assumption, but it slipped past her lips. Jungkook's brow arched, but he didn't move an inch. Why do you think that? I don't know. You're really close, she said, blinking up at him. He tilted his head slightly, eyes scanning her face like he was reading every twitch and breath. Do you want me to? ... Her lips parted, maybe to say yes, maybe to scream no, maybe just to breathe, but before a single word left her mouth, a sharp knock echoed ... against the door. Jungkook blinked, breaking whatever trance he'd fallen into, his gaze tearing away from hers. He exhaled slowly, leaning back just enough to put a breath of air between them. In reality, he was only been toying with her. ... Or at least, that's what he told himself, because she fascinated him too much. Well, he murmured, clearing his throat, you can stop being a curious cat now. Stop sneaking into other people's territory. Sorry, she muttered, sarcasm dripping from her tongue. I don't exactly have anything better to do. You kidnapped me, remember? He ignored that, straightening up. Come in. ... The door opened, and Namjoon stepped inside. His gaze swept over the room, once before landing on the two of them. His brows lifted slightly, but he did in single quotes comment. I need to talk to you, Namjoon said, and just stood there frozen like an idiot, shifting awkwardly from one foot to the other. Well, Jungkook sighed, glancing at her. What are you waiting for? Leave my room ... double quotes rude, she muttered under her breath. She turned to leave, but his voice stopped her mid-step. She turned back, breath still uneven, pupils wide blown. Leave that watch on my table ... double quotes ... It was only then she realized she was still wearing his watch. A faint blush crept up her neck. She rolled her eyes, unbuckled it, and slammed it onto the table with unnecessary force. Happy now ... she hissed under her breath, immediately checking to see if she cracked the glass. When she was satisfied she hadn't, she turned and stormed out ... without another word. He couldn't help it at all, the small smile that is forming to easily every ... now and then. Namjoon noticed. Well, he teased as the door shut behind her. Someone already looks 𝙤𝙤𝙛𝙞𝙠 double quotes ... The smile vanished instantly, his expression flattening. You didn't see that. I sure didn't, Namjoon said with a grin, taking a seat. Anyway, she was ... right. Minjin, he finally cracked. Spilled everything ... Jungkook leaned back, rubbing his jaw with two fingers. Anything ... useful. Plenty, Namjoon said, leaning forward. He confirmed the shipment ... routes. He also mentioned a few contacts in Hong Kong who might be ... supplying intel. Someone on the inside's been leaking intel, and Minjin thinks it's tied to the Han group. If that guy telling the truth, this could ... mean they're planning a move much bigger than we thought. A muscle in Jungkook's jaw ticked, but he stayed silent, processing ... every detail, and you know. Namjoon added, glancing sideways at him, as much ... as she's annoying sometimes, the girl's pretty useful. Smart, too. Knows a ... lot of things most people don't. That smile, the one Jungkook swore he wouldn't let happen again, crept back ... onto his face as his eyes drifted up to the monitor screen showing the ... security feed. She was in the hallway saluting a marble statue like it was a soldier. Namjoon followed his gaze and chuckled under his breath. Should I get ... used to seeing that lovesick smile? Jungkook's head turned sharply and Namjoon held up his hands, laughing. All right. I didn't say anything ... double quotes ... He looked back at the screen and same tiny smile pulled up on his lips, and he didn't bother hiding it this time. Getting attached to your kidnapper is the dumbest, most pathetic thing a person could possibly do ... and yet, here I was ... I didn't even know if attached was the right word. Maybe it was just ... attraction. Yeah, that was logical. Because it was a fact Jungkook ... was attractive. And maybe there was a bit of attachment too. Because this was week 2 of me being here, and nobody had killed me yet. No more locked rooms. And no more threats. They even fed me 3 meals a day and gave me decent clothes. VIP treatment for a prisoner, if you ask me. I was sure they knew by now I wasn't a threat. What I wasn't sure of was why they were still keeping me. Also, I was pretty sure they were taking advantage of my big mouth, because every time I opened it, I ended up giving away useful information they didn't even ask for free. Which is why I was here to confront him about it. It had been almost 5 minutes since I entered Jungkook's room, also 5 minutes of silence and me standing awkwardly by the door, staring at the way his muscles shifted under that black sleeveless top while he treated a cut on his arm. Do you need something? Jungkook finally broke the awkward silence. The sting of antiseptic on raw skin didn't bother him at all. No, I said automatically. Double quotes, then what? His eyes briefly flicked up to me. Double quotes, wanted to say something. I shifted my weight from one foot to the other, but you look busy, so I'll just come back later. It's fine. He dabbed the wound again. Say what you want. My eyes stayed on the cut. Do you need help with that? One corner of his mouth twitched upward. Do you have knowledge about this too? No. Why? I wouldn't be surprised if you had. Is that a compliment or an insult? What do you think? With the tone, I think it's an insult, but the words sound kind of nice, so I don't know. Double quotes. A soft chuckle left his lips. Do whatever you want to assume. The sound did something to my chest, a small flutter I tried to ignore. My eyes dropped back to his wound just in time to see him press the alcohol-soaked cotton down harder than before. I hissed quietly. Maybe, he said suddenly, you should help me. What? I can't wrap the bandage alone. He lifted his arm slightly, eyes locking with mine. Help me. Me. Do you see anyone else here? I stared at him for a second too long before nodding, stepping closer. I thought he was serious, that he needed the help. But the moment I was close enough to smell the faint trace of his cologne, I knew better. The room was dim, painted with streaks of moonlight leaking through the curtains and the soft, golden glow of a desk lamp. It made everything feel heavier, if that's the right word for it. There was tension in the room. None can ignore here, he murmured, handing me the roll of bandages. I reached for the bandage, fingers brushing his skin accidentally, and my heart tripped over itself. The warmth of him seeped into my fingertips, spreading up my arm until it felt like my whole body was buzzing. Double quotes like this. I asked quietly. His hum vibrated against the small space between them, tighter. When I looked up, his gaze was already on me. Why are you staring? Am I? He murmured back. Double quotes. Yes, she whispered. It's distracting. Good, he said softly. Her heart stuttered. Done, she said, stepping back as if distance could save her from herself. Maybe it was attachment. What did you want to say? Jungkook asked with that quiet authority that made it hard to breathe properly. I fiddled with my fingers, the tips of them brushing against each other. Twisting and twisting. I should have stepped back. I stayed right where I was, close enough to see the faint scar under his jaw, close enough to feel the warmth radiating from his body. When I started, then swallowed. When will I go back home? It was so subtle anyone else might have missed it. But I didn't. I saw it because I was so damn close not to. The tiny flicker in his eyes. The almost imperceptible shift in his expression. And then, if it was even possible, his gaze darkened. You want to go home? Of course I do. I breathed out, a nervous little laugh slipping past my lips. I mean, I have a life. And a mother who probably thinks I'm either dead or starring in a Netflix true crime documentary by now. He hummed, but it wasn't the same hum he always did. His eyes dropped from mine as he stepped around me. The sudden movement forced me to take a step back, my shoulders brushing against the edge of the table. Without another word, he started cleaning up the mess of medical supplies, all tossed into a box one by one, like he hadn't heard me at all. I said after a long silence, watching him move. I'm still waiting for an answer. You know, you can leave whenever you want. Double quotes. I blinked. What? You heard me. He turned around this time, gaze unreadable. You can walk out that door tomorrow if you want. But you can't tell anyone you were ever here. Double quotes. Shock hit me first, and then a wave of emotions followed behind it. Something that felt an awful lot like disappointment, though I didn't dare name it. Then what am I supposed to do? Just pretend none of this ever happened. Make up a story, he said simply, shrugging one shoulder. You're a good dot at that, so I can really go. Like, tomorrow. If you wish, he replied, still not looking at me, sure. There was a pause. What if I want to stay 1 or 2 more days? His hands stilled mid-motion, my heart did too. I pinched the inside of my palm, quickly, trying to save myself. I mean, the food here is really delicious. That's all, you know, chef's kiss. 5 stars, double quotes, the corner of his mouth twitched, but not into a smile. That would be a stupid reason to stay here, wouldn't it? Why yeah, I bit my lip, he crawling up my neck. I was just joking. Obviously, double quotes, the room was quiet again, except for the sound of our breathing, and when I looked up, his gaze was already waiting for me. We stared at each other, double quotes, so. I said eventually, breaking the silence, this is our last meeting, then. He said nothing. Well, I guess it was. Nice knowing you, Mr. Mafia, double quotes, one of his eyebrows lifted. A ghost of amusement flickering in his eyes, you're not as bad as you made your image out to be, I added, and this time, the smallest smile tugged at his lips. You haven't seen that side yet, he said calmly. Hopefully, it'll stay that way, double quotes, yeah. I forced a nervous laugh. I wouldn't want to be on your bad side. Trust me, Jungkook said, gaze locking onto mine with a weight that made my stomach flip. You wouldn't. So I said again, softer this time, because the silence was stretching to long, and I hated long silences. Then I'll go double quotes, I took a hesitant step toward the door. Some stupid part of me kept waiting. For what? I didn't know, maybe for him to say anything double quotes, okay. I said finally, forcing a tiny smile that felt too weak to exist. I guess this is it. Still nothing as I opened the door, the faint creak of the hinges filling the room like an exclamation mark at the end of a sentence, double quotes, YN. My heart jumped into my throat, hope ridiculous. Unwanted hope spark in my chest before I could kill it, I turned around, eyes wide, trying not to look too desperate. Yes. He stared at me for a second too long. Close the door on your way out, Jungkook said flatly, the flicker died. Just like that, right. I whispered, cheeks burning as I bit down on the inside of my lip. Of course, and as I stepped out and shut the door behind me, I mentally cursed myself for being so stupid, for letting that tiny stubborn part of me hope for more. A whole month had passed. 30 days, 720 hours, and not a single one went by without him slipping into my thoughts like a ghost. I couldn't _cisc. It was ridiculous, stupid, even, but every time I closed her eyes, I could still see that look on his face, that unreadable calm. When I come home that night, I expected hell to break loose. My mom cried, but not for the reason she thought. I was scared something happened to you. My mother had said, sniffling into a tissue. I just stood there like an idiot. Wow. I must have underestimated her capacity for actual emotion. I made up a story, something complete nonsense, and shockingly my mom believed every word. But even with things back to normal, nothing felt normal. Kept wondering if it had all been one side. Maybe I imagined the tension. Maybe it was nothing, but my stupid heart reading too much into a look, a word, a breath to close. Double quotes. Why would a man like him want anything to do with me anyway? I mumbled to herself, pouting as I rolled over on my bed. He's him, and I'm me. A walking disaster who talks to herself when she's bored. I sighed dramatically and flopped back against the pillows. Maybe it was just a weird phase. Yeah, totally. The door slammed open. I jolted upright, clutching in blanket. Moom. I whined. How many times do I have to tell you not to scare me like that? My mother was standing there with something in her hands, a big, ridiculously big box wrapped in sleek black packaging, and a glossy ribbon. Double quotes. What is that? I squinted, suspicious immediately. That I was going to ask. Did you order something online again? My mom asked, already slipping into lecture mode. I am. No, she said, confused. Then what is this? It looks expensive. Are you wasting the money from that one part-time job on useless luxury things again? First of all, again. I bought one nice bag, Mom. One, and second, I didn't order this, I swear. My mom narrowed her eyes, so it just appeared here on its own. Maybe a fairy godmother felt bad for me. Double quotes. Alright. I reached for the box, tugging it toward her bed. Just leave it here, I'll check what it is. My mom sighed, shaking my head as she turned toward the door. I swear, one day you are going to get yourself in trouble. Already has. I mumbled again, fingers brushing over the smooth surface of the package. Because now confusion was curling low in my stomach. I knew I hadn't ordered anything like this. I couldn't even afford anything like this. I stared at it, the box stared back. I didn't order you. I told it like it was going to answer. I stared at the box for a whole minute like it was going to suddenly explain itself. It didn't. Alright. If a cursed ghost jumps out, I'm suing someone. The lid came off with a soft sound, and holy crap. It was expensive. Not expensive like the clothes you see behind the glass windows in malls, expensive like the kind rich people wear to those charity galas I only watch on TV. My jaw actually dropped. And then dropped more when I reached in and gently pulled it out. A dress, midnight black with soft and silvery threads running through it. Like constellations. Double quotes. Oh my god. I breathed, holding it against myself and spinning once. I wasn't sure if it was love or shot, but I swear my heart did a somersault. And that wasn't even the end of it. Beneath the dress were shoes, strappy heels that matched perfectly, and tucked under the lid was a small card. I grabbed it, turning it around, a few lines written in neat, elegant handwriting: : double quotes. I hope your mother won't kill you for wearing this. I'll wait. If you didn't, I'll assume she did kill you. A smile pulled up on my lips so big I fear my cheeks will fall off because I know who exactly sent it. Jungkook POV cologne. The chandelier above my head cost more than most people's houses. I knew because I bought. And now, standing in the middle of a ballroom filled with silk suits, glittering diamonds, and fake smiles, I couldn't help but think how much I hated nights like this. Everything secured, I asked without looking away from the crowd. The music was low enough to let the clinking of champagne glasses be heard. Namjoon appeared at my side with his usual unbothered face and a glass of whiskey. Triple checked. Everyone on the guest list has been scanned. Snipers on the rooftops. And yes, your exits are clear. Double quotes. I nodded, scanning the room. The mayor's here, arrived 10 minutes ago. Min associates too. I hummed. Should I get the next shipment numbers ready for discussion? Namjoon asked, glancing down at his tablet. Not yet. Let them drink. Let them loosen their tongues first. Then we'll talk business. My gaze swept over the polished crowd again. Everything was perfect. Expecting someone. Namjoon asked, noticing the way my eyes kept flickering toward the entrance. I scoffed lightly, turning away. No. But I was lying. I never admitted out loud, but my eyes keep sweeping the room like a hunter waiting for a single glimpse of his prey. Only this time, I wasn't hunting. I was waiting. I never looked forward to anyone before. People came and went. They served a purpose, and when they didn't, they disappeared. Maybe it's just you, Jungkook. I muttered under my breath. And sighed, finally turning to grab a glass of champagne, but then something caught my attention. Black silk shimmers that my eyes could never mistake. Daughter. He shook his head slowly, fighting the smile of his lips. She turned her head. Slightly caught him watching, and he raised an eyebrow at her. She straightened up and walked the rest of the way. Is this a normal occurrence with you I should be prepared for? I asked. Her cheeks burned a deeper shade of red. No, it's not. Liar. The corner of my mouth twitched upward. I've seen you trip over nothing. This is practically your brand. Her mouth opened, then closed, then opened again like she couldn't decide whether to be offended or laugh. It's not my brand. I was just nervous. I arched a brow. Nervous. She looked anywhere but my eyes. There's a lot of people watching. I hummed, stepping closer just enough to watch her breath catch. Her mouth opened, then closed, then opened again. Like she couldn't decide whether to be offended or laugh. It's not my brand. I was just nervous, she muttered, her voice softer this time. I arched a brow, amusement tugging at my lips. Nervous, she shifted on her feet, refusing to meet my gaze. There's a lot of people watching. I leaned in just a little, lowering my voice, then ignore them. Just like you ignore the rest of your problems. Her eyes narrowing slightly. Excuse me, Mr. Mafia, you are one of those problems. I bit back a grin. God, she really was getting bolder. Double quotes. And just so you know, you already got me in trouble. My mom thought I ordered this expensive dress myself. She practically had a heart attack. Not that I'm complaining, she added quickly, fidgeting with the hem of the dress. I mean, I wouldn't mind getting things like this. But she thinks I'm wasting my money. I hummed, pretending to think. Well, it can be ignored, couldn't it? She blinked at me, confused. What can? The problem. My gaze slowly traveled from her shoes up to the neckline of the dress and back to her flushed face. Because that dress suits you a hell of a lot better than it ever did on a mannequin. Her cheeks instantly bloomed with color, and she ducked her head, trying and failing to hide the smile tugging at her lips. Double quotes. Are you? She cleared her throat. Trying again. Are you flirting with me right now? I tilted my head. Was that flirting? Yes, she deadpanned. Then maybe I am. Her blush deepened instantly, a soft, pretty shade of pink crawling all the way to her ears. That was the sight I wanted to see again and again. Double quotes. SOLO. She dragged the word out, shifting from one heel to another, her eyes flicking up to meet mine. So I echoed, leaning in slightly, enjoying how her breath hitched just from the closeness. Double quotes. So, what's next? She asked, biting her lower lip. There was bold curiosity and shy hesitation. A small smile curved on my lips as I took a half step closer. I extended my hand toward her, palm open. Well, would you do me the honor of accompanying me for the rest of the night? Miss. I left the sentence hanging, pausing on the last word, waiting. Because we both knew she hadn't entered under her real name. Her lips parted into a slow mischief flickering in her eyes as she slipped her hand into mine. Miss Adeline Carter, she said smoothly, and then added with a playful tilt of her head. But you can call me Addie. Double quotes. The name was fake, I knew that. But hearing it from her lips, in that teasing tone, made me smile wider than I should have. Addie, I repeated, letting the name linger on my tongue before bringing her hand up. And without breaking eye contact, I pressed a kiss against her knuckles. Double quotes. I think your real one suits you better. She laughed nervously, trying to pull her hand back, but I didn't let her. It's just for tonight. Don't get too attached to Addie. Double quotes. I leaned in a fraction, my voice dropping low enough that only she could hear. And what if I want to? Her eyes widened a little. Want to? What? Get attached not to the name, but we can make it more than just for tonight. Single quotes. But every story has to start somewhere, doesn't it? She blinked at me, clearly not expecting that answer. You're so confident, for a man who kidnapped me. I chuckled. No, just certain that I'm going to make it very hard for you to forget this night. Double quotes. Her cheeks flushed a deep shade of pink again, the color crawling all the way up to the tips of her ears. She blinked a few times, lips parting as if she had a dozen replies but couldn't decide on a single one. Very bold, Mr. Mafia. Would you prefer I lied? My breath brushed against her cheek. Double quotes. No, she whispered before she could stop herself, then immediately looked away, flustered. I mean, yes. I mean, maybe. I laughed low and genuine. The sound only made her groan, burying her face in her hands to hide the shade blooming across her cheeks. Double quotes. Let the night decide for itself. When she finally peeked out from behind her fingers, strands of hair fallen forward, framing her flushed face. She pushed them back clumsily, and her eyes found mine again. You already have plans for tonight, don't you? Let's just say, I said with the ghost of a smile as I stepped closer. My hand moved on its own, fingers brushing against her temple as I tucked a loose strand of hair gently behind her ear, leaning closer to her ear. If the night goes the way I want it to, it's not going to be very hard for you to forget me. Double quotes. A light peck followed against the shell of her ear before I pulled back. Watching the way she bit down on her lower lip ... and both of them knew the night would really go as he planned ...